So you want to take your shot at being a good UTA player? Well, I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to be very, very difficult, but still, don't worry, I got you. Hey crew, or if we haven't met yet, just Zay here, and I want to be going over my brief ideals and strategies on how to play with the UTA deck. And yes, like I discussed, it's going to be a little bit difficult, but still, it's very easy to capitalize on her ability. And I think it's going to be very beneficial to look over this so that you can kind of get a feel for it. Yes, it is a rogue deck, but as you've seen in my tier list, which if you haven't seen, go ahead and check that video out. Now I'm going to be going over obviously my build, and in no way, shape, or form is this the end all say all. So by all means, let me know in the comments if you think something should be put in differently or if the ratios are just a little bit different for you. And by all means, if you find this video very helpful, then go ahead and hit that like down below. And if you feel as though you want to stay up to date on more TCG content put out by myself, then by all means hit that sub for love. I greatly appreciate it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the deck profile and breakdown on how to play UTA. Now, the biggest thing that you want to understand with playing UTA is that you want to try to get out very big bodied vanilla cards that are going to be very problematic for your opponent to have the counters in hand for, and utilize the other cards that are within this deck to essentially get rid of the blockers so that your high costing cards can get the swings through to make your game state a lot more easier to succeed for you. Now, with that being said, it is very difficult to play with vanillas because in my opinion they don't have no effects, so there's no way to really essentially combo off of that. But with the rest of the stuff that's in this deck, it will kind of aid and bandage it together to make it so it's very more utilizable for you to succeed with it. Now, it is very iffy on how you should be running this deck, but this is just a very rough sketch on how I think you should, and in no way, shape, or form is this the end all say all. So let's go ahead and get into this breakdown on how I feel like UTA should be played. First off, let's start with UTA's ability. UTA's ability is going to be with paying a Dawn, so not attaching one, but instead resting it. You can give a vanilla card, essentially 2,000, but it's only one card and it's not more than one. Like for example with Zoro, where you attach a Dawn to him and he gives all your characters 1,000. UTA is only going to give specifically one card 2,000. So with that, I kind of wanted to go with the kind of mixed blend of having cards that utilize the recycling of Dawn, as well as to kind of KO specific low costing cards that may be very pesky, like blockers and such like that. And also kind of just having a good balance with vanilla and not vanilla, because just playing vanillas is very, very rough. And then personally, in my opinion, I am not a very much so play vanilla kind of person. I think I'm more so like it has to have an effect. But in a deck like UTA, it's actually very useful to play something like that. And or if you're doing Zoro, that's another variant that you can do. So starting off, obviously we're going to have 4 Ultima because she's just a very good red counter, especially with 2k and having the capabilities to destroy pesky cards like 8 cost kid or whatever the sort. So by having 4 Ultima, it's very utilized in either way of boosting some of your vanilla cards that someone's trying to KO, because as you can see, all the vanilla cards that I have are very high cost but high rewarding, and especially with the UTA's ability. And obviously you can use the Ultima and Jet Pistol combo like I discussed in my Zoro video, which if you haven't seen, you should go ahead and check that out as well. Then we have Nami, obviously because it's just very much so beneficial to recycle your Dawn as much as possible. So using her effect is going to be very beneficial because it can utilize your resources as much as possible. Now another card we're going to get into is Beepo. Beepo's a very good card because for one, it has a 2k counter, so you can put it up to 4 if you think you need more hand counters than anything, and it's very beneficial as far as well as its attack ability, because you don't have to have essentially a lethal attack, but what you can do is attack with that card first per se, with the Dawn attached to KO a 3 or less, so that will get over the beige blockers, the Black Marias, the Tonys, stuff that's very pesky and it's just preventing you from getting a hit at someone's life. So utilizing something like that is very beneficial. Or you can also go about it the Ultima route. If they have a card that's, let's say 5k, you can definitely utilize playing Ultima and then having the Beepo, essentially making that a KOable card. Now you have Higuro. Higuro is pretty good because with resting him, you get to give your leader or a character 2k, which is very, very beneficial, and it's kind of one of those cards that you want to use for a last minute off guard. A lot of people may not be expecting you to play that, and I think personally it's very good. Now, there's a reason why I ran a lot of 2 ofs, because very much so any of these cards that are at 2 ofs, you can boost up to 4 or kind of switch out the ratios so much so. So this is, I wouldn't say necessarily the exact deck that I would play, but this would kind of be the go around, because some of these are very good in one way and not so much in the other way, and kind of vice versa. So obviously we're going into Nika Robin. She has the same ability as Beepo. She's just a little bit more closer to a lethal hit by just attaching 1 Dawn in comparison to 3 with Beepo. So yes, you can essentially have this Beepos in this deck too, and use those as the counters, and have Nika Robin be the one that's actually going to be doing the KOing, and have the opportunity to have a lethal as well, so utilize your Dawn very much so more. So I think that's the best way to go about that for sure. So obviously getting into the Uta character, she's going to be a very good card, but I'm not going to put her at 4 because more than half of the deck is not a 3 cost or less. So with that, I don't want to put her at 4, and she doesn't have a counter in hand, so it's kind of another reason as to why. But she's still a very good card to kind of recycle some cards that you may have utilized, like for example if someone KO'd your Nami, or if you used your Ultima, you can pick Ultima out of the trash using her, so it's very, very good for sure. Nika Robin, she's just a very good 3 cost vanilla that you can utilize Uta's effect for. This Brook I would say is a lot better than the other Brook, because you are, when attacking, minusing 2k from 2 characters, so it's essentially Uta but with the capabilities to have a lethal hit. So I think this is very, very, very much so beneficial, because you can kind of get rid of a lot of cards by utilizing this for sure. And like I said, having him with Jet Pistol is a very good combo for sure. Law is going to be obviously just another good vanilla, and frankly all these vanillas are just good vanillas that for one have counters in hand, so they can be utilized for that if you don't need them. And for 2, they're kind of just cards that essentially you're going to be boosting up with Uta's ability and are going to make it a lot more hard to deal with. Obviously you have the Rush Luffy, that's just a given. Now something that people may not really like that I am trying to put into this deck is going to be I Smell Adventure. It's basically a mulligan card. You're going to shuffle the cards that you have in your hand to then draw the same amount of cards that you just shuffled. Now why many people may not think it's good is because essentially it's a -1 in your hand, because you're playing that card and then shuffling what you have to get something back. You basically used 1 card to try to get a new hand. Now yes, that is a -1, but it also can definitely help you, and especially in a deck like this where you have a lot of vanillas, because in some cases you may not need a vanilla in your hand with Uta's ability. You kind of may need something else that will help you out a lot more. And I think it's a good card that can probably go up to 4. Personally, it's something that is really up to your opinion. Guard Point, it's just a really good counter in hand. Djembe is a good effect of getting rid of the pesky blockers that are in your way, and you can just kind of use those as a kind of off guard point, especially with swinging with a big card that's a vanilla, because you just want to kind of have that game state a lot more than so not. Now we also have Gum Gum Red Hawk, which is a very good card because he's kind of getting rid of low costing cards while also benefiting saving your life. So it's something else to definitely run, or you could definitely run the Radical Beam in substitution if you think so. And then obviously the Jet Pistol is just 2KO 6 or less cost cards, but as you can see there's a lot of ways to go around that, especially with the Brook and the Ultima, because with that you can kind of minus a lot more to get those really, really big cards that were played. You can get those down to the range of it being capable to be KO'd by Jet Pistol. So definitely, like I said, this is kind of like a really rough draft as what I feel as though Uta can be played. And this is kind of just like a more so broad spectrum of how it can be utilized. You can definitely take some of these cards out and put others at 4, but these are kind of my ideal cards that you would maybe want to put into a Uta deck. Obviously you don't see any Tonys or blockers at all, and that's kind of because I want to go on the offensive with this deck. So with that being in mind, yes, you can definitely put some rush card Zoros in here, or Sanjis, or things like that if you wish to. I kind of want it more so the big beater vanilla cards, and utilizing Uta's effect to kind of get big swings in, and then trying to protect those cards with counters in hand, and or just essentially cards that will make your board a lot more clear for me to get my big swings in. So definitely let me know how you feel in the comment section below on how my build was in comparison to what you would think is a good build for Uta. And definitely, like I said, I do love the feedback for sure, so go ahead and let me know how you could be seeing something different, or if you're even going to be running Uta for sure. I know personally myself, I'm not as big of a Uta fan because I just don't like playing vanillas. I definitely do stand to look out for more content being put out this week. I'm going to be pushing out a lot of more deck profiles every single day until release, and even some profiles after release. And also do stay on the lookout if you want to see me do a box opening live. I'm definitely going to be doing that possibly before the release. There's more info to come soon with that. And if you want to stay super up to date with that, then go ahead and join my Discord. That would definitely be the first place that you'll be able to see when I put out a live notification on Twitch. Now, also recently I created a Patreon. If you don't know what a Patreon is, essentially it's like a subscription service to get more benefits, whether that's coaching, mat designs, first releases before everybody else on YouTube, so on and so forth. And essentially all those proceeds that I get from those is going to go back to this channel. The link in the description is down below for you to check that out as well. And honestly, I think that this deck is just going to be something that is very slept on, and definitely I think you should test something out similar to this and let me know how you feel for sure. Now, as a great musician once said, if people can escape into my music and forget about the bad things for a moment, I want to keep singing for as long as I can. Now, if you've seen the film Red movie, you know exactly where this goes. If you haven't seen the film Red movie, check that out. In no way am I sponsored by that, but that movie was phenomenal. So definitely check that movie out. And if you've seen it, let me know what you think without trying to spoil it for other people for sure. But with all that being said, stay motivated, know that the One Piece is real, and know that you got love over here. Peace.